What is up, guys? Welcome back to TWE Charts. Let's talk about AMC, man. Okay, so currently AMC is trapped in this little inverse pennant wedge formation. So a few things, guys. On the last video, we talked about the market cycles. Okay, basically AMC was in this massive declining distribution phase. And I believe right now we're currently in accumulation, right? But in accumulation, you can still have some kind of spring, or you just trade sideways, consolidate, and then go into the advancing phase, which we're getting very close to when tracking not only the Carvana pattern that we tracked on the last video, but there's a few other ones that I want to go over on this video. Okay, so, but before that, man, make sure you guys hit like, all right, subscribe, do all that good stuff, hit the notification bell for the times that I do go live, because I think it's going to get interesting here in the next few weeks, and you guys already know how this works, right? We rally with the family when the price is flying, okay? All right, so in this advancing phase that I'm expecting here in the next few weeks, why? For a few reasons. Okay, so we pull up the cycle. Where are we at? We're ending the current cycle right now, and we're getting close to 2 points of interest. Okay, so we're getting close to the main point of interest here that is 13 days long, where we typically experience volatility, as we just saw last month. In August, we had a massive inverse squeeze on AMC on the point of interest. Okay, so that's the one thing we're tracking right now is the October POI, and then we are also tracking this short-term point of interest here. So for those that have been here and know how the cycle works, this little guy right here, this little spike, this little spring setup, dead cat on AMC's arc formation in June that we use as the cycle. Typically, and there is correlation that we experience some kind of volatility around that range. So I'll show you guys back. Very similar to the 13-day window, except this one is a lot smaller. We're talking less than 5 days where we experience volatility. So for example, here in July, we have 2 points of interest that we have. We have the one happening on the 21st, which again is about 5 days before the spike here. And then we have one shortly right after. So not every cycle has this. The ones that trade sideways and are very flat don't have this, but most of them do. Okay, so we're going to take a little box here. Little box if I can find it. Can never find these boxes, man, I'm telling you. And I'm going to take like 20 minutes trying to find this. Did they move my boxes, bro? Where are they at? How many times am I gonna skip this? Okay, here we go. All right, so again, taking it from the POI here, giving it that range right there for volatility in this very small window here. So here we have two. We have on March 22nd volatility, and then we have on March 28th. Okay, back here, we have it happening on the 18th. Okay, back here on the 11th. Okay, right here, we have some volatility happening on the 9th. Here we have it having it on the 6th. The one that happened on the same day was May 12th. We tracked that one to a T. And then this one is the one that is pretty interesting, because this one, exiting a short-term accumulation phase, if you're just looking at this smaller section here in the cycle, this one turns into a positive POI, the one we tracked in March of 2022. So that's one to track, very special, because it is a spring. This comes down, it is a spring, and then it starts climbing back up. So again, all of these have some kind of volatility around that time, especially if the price has been in a decline for quite some time. So that's what I'm sort of anticipating here. I think that in the short term, there might be a move coming when looking at the cycle. And if that move is upside and we get some kind of, like price goes up to 10 or 11, that's going to set AMC up to continue riding the wave up. I think that because at this point, guys, all it takes, it's a ripple effect. So AMC goes down to basically 80 cents from 800. For those that don't know, AMC had a 1 to 10 split, meaning that the price from where it had the reverse split multiplied times 10. So that doesn't do anything to your shares, but it did give the incentive to these shorts to start shorting the price, which is what happened here. And then there's just a huge ripple effect to the downside. So basically, the chart has the highs of 770 if you look at some of the other brokers. TradingView has yet to adjust that. They should, because that's the true price. And if we look at it that way, AMC basically fell down to 80 cents. So all of these other stocks in the market that had already done this before, say Nikola, for example, right? A few things with Nikola. So Nikola fell down to 80 cents. And then what happened? It went from 80 cents to 1.72, right? So that is equivalent to for AMC to do a $8 move to 17, right? That might look a little, or look at that. Actually, I'm completely wrong here. It went from 53 cents to 36. So that is equivalent for AMC to go from $5 to $36 in a matter of basically 2 months. Nikola did this, guys. It's just the price point here is different. It's a psychological game here. Some people think like, oh, AMC's at $8. Like, there's no way it can go to 36 in 2 months. But I mean, all these other stocks are doing it. They're just trading at a different price point, and all of these have option chains as well. So it doesn't make it harder for AMC to do that. This thing is a pellet. It got shorted from $93 to 53 cents. AMC got shorted from $800 to 80 cents. That's like 10 times the short, comparing it to Nikola. So think about the amount of shorting pressure AMC had versus some of these other stocks. Now, the one that I'm currently tracking right now is Tilray. Okay, and the reason I'm tracking Tilray is because these two have a pretty high correlation with each other. If you look at the correlation coefficient between AMC and Tilray, it's pretty high. And the higher it is, the more likely that the two are trading in a similar fashion. The pattern looks similar to AMC's. So looking back on this pattern, right? So let's bring it on over Tilray. Tilray is on the bottom, AMC is on top. The pattern right now that we are tracking is this guy right here. So if we move this right over here, hover it right over, okay, TradingView moved it, okay, it's right here. Now if we take this pattern and we shift it on top, obviously it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't track. But this sequence right now is tracking right here, and that's the part that is important to track. These don't have to be one-to-one. These patterns could be a bit smaller, or they could track one-to-one. But if you look at this pattern here, it's the same thing, right? So Tilray goes from these crazy levels in 2021, and look at how many days it's trading apart from AMC. Kind of like Ethereum Classic, if you guys remember the tracking we had, right? This goes up like crazy in February. AMC goes up like crazy in June, right? So if we're tracking this like a similar correlation here between the two, how many days apart these two are tracking, then we would get about 112 days. Now, am I going to be using this for this specifically? I can, because it is a correlation, right? We did the same thing with Ethereum Classic, and to a T, we got everything tracking for an entire almost 2 years. Okay? Now, cycles change. They take turns. They flip around. It's very normal. So in this case, if we have a similar tracking, if we come back here, right, we have this thing going up in July. And then in this case, if we had a similar sort of peak scenario, then AMC would peak sometime in November. So if you go back to the cycle, we know that it starts in October and it goes up to November time. If this is going to repeat a similar cycle, just like we have with Tilray, then we have the same thing happening, guys, right here. We have an accumulation phase, we have a projector pattern, and then we have a gap up. And what happens here? The price goes from $1.50 to $3. That's 1x. Not the same as Nikola or CGC, right? But it's something. It goes up quite a bit. And it doesn't even compare to the amount of how much it's been shorted. Another thing I'm tracking with specifically with Tilray, and this one's like pretty special, pretty important to track, is a bigger pattern, guys. And I think this is the one that we could potentially track some of the levels. It's the one that is showing the highest correlation with the levels here. This is just one of them. The other one is this guy right here. This is Tilray over here, guys. A 1-to-1 pattern. Again, the days are the same, so it makes this a better pattern to track. Now, this one would be calling for upside around the end of October, which is where the POI is here. And this one would be calling for crazy levels at $100. So, can this happen? Yeah, it can happen. But it requires the algorithm to follow through and complete the sequence. And it also requires a pretty major catalyst. It would require a lot of volume coming in. A lot of different things have to happen for this to be at play. But it's just showing you that the algorithm here is getting very close and very tight to potentially completing something like this. I think it's very doable. This is why we just track things day by day and check things off day by day, right? If we start to see the price go lower and lower and lower, then we start tracking something else, because then it makes it more likely that we are not headed for upside yet. But in this case, I think a lot of things are adding up for a potential bounce, V reversal finally after 2 years, 2+ years. And I think AMC is getting ready to go, guys. So that's it, man. That's the video here today. Just wanted to update that, give you guys some clarity on my thoughts moving forward in the next few days. Remember, you guys got to subscribe, like this video, because I'm going to be going live soon covering AMC, hopefully, if the price does start to fly here in the short term. All right, guys, take care. See you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.